Well, hello, North Carolina. What a great turnout on a great day. Thank you all for being here. Senator Tillis, Congressman Budd, Congressman Walker, State Party Chairman Mike Whatley, all of my fellow Americans from near and far, it is great to be back in the Tar Heel State. But I'm here for one reason and one reason only, and that is that North Carolina and America need to vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. 1 week from today, we need to show America that North Carolina is Trump country. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born. A movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in North Carolina, you knew we could be strong again. You knew we could be prosperous again. You said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know in 7 short days, North Carolina is going to say yes again to President Donald Trump in 2020. But it really is great to be with all of you. And if you got a seat out there somewhere, you can find it. I got a lot on my mind today. It's great to be here with so many friends. Especially great. Well, I love North Carolina, I promise you. Thank you. It's great to be here with a man I've had the opportunity to get to know. Grew up on a cattle and chicken farm. Learned the value of hard work in his family's business, but I'm here to tell you, I want to tell the hometown folks, he has been one of the strongest advocates of this president's agenda on Capitol Hill. Would you join me in thanking your hometown Congressman, Ted Budd? Thank you, Ted. Strong conservative. Speaking of strong conservatives, it's also great to be here with a man who answered the call first in his life as a pastor, made a difference in people's lives. But he felt another call, fortunately for North Carolina and for our nation. He answered the call to public service. And I want to tell you today, he has emerged as one of the great conservative voices on Capitol Hill, a champion for our veterans, a strong America, and all the values that make this country great. Join me in thanking Congressman Mark Walker for his leadership and his support. Thank you, Mark. But finally, it's great to be here with men you just heard a little bit from. He told me he was just going to introduce me for 2 minutes, and I said, you better talk longer than that. He grew up in a great family. Humble beginnings, but through hard work and determination, he achieved great success in his life in business. Went into politics. I'm told he actually started in politics as the PTA president at his daughter's high school. Now he is a great conservative voice in the United States Senate, and I'm here to say right after you vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump, North Carolina and America need 6 more years of Senator Thom Tillis in the United States Senate. Why don't you get on your feet and show Senator Tillis how much support he's got here. And let's hear it for his wife, Susan, too. What a great family. Thank you both. So thank you all for being here. It's amazing to think how far we've come over the last 3.5 years. Thinking back 4 years ago, we inherited a military that was hollowed out by years of devastating budget cuts. An economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, I'm proud to report, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, stood for life, liberty, and the Constitution of the United States of America. And it all starts with our national defense, of which there is such a rich tradition here in the Tar Heel State. You know, when we took office, the last administration had overseen reckless budget cuts. I mean, I have to tell you, when we stepped into office, there was a large portion of aircraft in the Air Force that was being kept on the ground to be used as spare parts to keep other aircraft in the air. Budget cuts were real, and they were impacting our readiness and the ability of our troops to defend our nation. But under President Donald Trump, those days are over. This president signed the largest investment in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. And as your vice president, and as the proud father of a United States Marine, I can report to you that we are finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support that they need to defend this nation. And I didn't mention my unworthy son-in-law, but he's a Navy pilot as well. I wouldn't want to leave him out. He's a wonderful guy. And it wasn't just about those who serve in the uniform today and their families. When Joe Biden was vice president, America saw years of scandal at the VA. You remember it here in North Carolina. Scandals that shocked the conscience of our nation. I mean, we literally had veterans passing away on waiting lists to get treatment at the VA. But when President Trump took office, working with these great members of the House and Senate, we passed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in 50 years. We fired more than 3,000 employees of the VA that were not giving our veterans the health care that they earned, and Veterans Choice is now available to every veteran in America. And on the economy, in our first 3 years after Joe Biden and the last administration tried to tax and spend and bail and regulate us back to a growing economy, President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in American history. It's true. It's amazing to think now, in the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump, we cut taxes across the board for working families and small businesses. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We fought for free and fair trade, unleashed American energy, and in those first 3 years, businesses large and small created 7 million good-paying jobs, including nearly 250,000 jobs right here in North Carolina. North Carolina actually saw in those first 3 years, Senator, you know, North Carolina saw its lowest unemployment rate since the Great Recession and its highest home ownership ever. And maybe what means the most to the President and me is that wages were rising at their fastest pace in more than 10 years. And they were rising most rapidly for hardworking, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. You know, you remember when Joe Biden was vice president, America actually lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And the last president, who I heard is back out on the campaign trail. The last president, remember? In the summer of 2016, he said the manufacturing jobs they lost were never coming back. He asked rhetorically, "What magic wand do you have?" Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. 500,000 manufacturing jobs created in our first 3 years, including 13,000 right here in the Tar Heel State. Manufacturing is back and roaring back as this economy gets back on its feet. And standing here today in the Piedmont Triad Airport, I know Greensboro is surrounded by some of the most beautiful farmland in North Carolina. You know, I grew up with a cornfield in my backyard. And my family will tell you, when our home in Columbus, Indiana, you used to be able to see 6 miles and count 18 barns. So I've never lived on a farm, but I know what agriculture means. And I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who has always fought for family, farmers, and ranchers. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, they were raising taxes on family farms. They were passing red tape that was stifling agriculture and compromising private property rights. But under President Donald Trump, we cut taxes to allow immediate expensing on all that equipment that farmers have. Anybody in agriculture knows that input costs are the biggest challenge. We allowed immediate expensing for agriculture. We eliminated the Waters of the USA regulation that was stifling and compromising private property rights, and we eliminated the death tax for nearly every family farmer in America. And so important to businesses and so important to agriculture when it comes to trade. It's amazing to think when we took office, half of our international trade deficit in this country was with one country, Communist China. And Joe Biden, he's been a cheerleader for Communist China all along the way. He actually said that the rise of China was a positive development. And last year when he was running for president, he actually scoffed at the idea that China was even a competitor of the United States. Good question. But under President Donald Trump, we put China on notice. We said the era of economic surrender is over. We imposed tariffs on China's products coming in to the United States, and we're going to continue to stand strong till they open their markets and respect the private property rights of Americans. And then closer to home, you all remember NAFTA, right? NAFTA was signed in 1995, and Democrats for decades loved to complain about it. But Joe Biden and the Democrats never lifted a finger to fix what was wrong with NAFTA, as we literally saw thousands of factories closed across this country and jobs shipped south of the border. I mean, right after the election 4 years ago, literally the ink wasn't dry on Election Day when I heard back in the Hoosier State that another company that had been in my state for 70 years was going to Mexico. But when the man who wrote The Art of the Deal got into the Oval Office, America got a way better deal. NAFTA is gone, and the USMCA is here to stay. It is a huge win for North Carolina and a huge win for North Carolina workers. Now, you all deserve to know that Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, I had a little debate with her over in Salt Lake City a couple of weeks back. Thank you. But in that debate, I brought up the point that Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. She said it didn't go far enough on climate change. I mean, you just deserve to know, Joe Biden's running mate put her radical environmental agenda ahead of North Carolina jobs and North Carolina agriculture. But I promise you, under President Donald Trump, we will always put American workers first. And on health care, I mean, we all remember the disaster of Obamacare, right? I was watching some of those Democrats with their posters in the Senate Judiciary Committee the other day. Boy, they've been rewriting history about Obamacare. I mean, Obamacare was a disaster. I mean, truthfully, remember all the lies of Obamacare? They said if you like your doctor, you can keep him. Wasn't true. They said if you like your health insurance, you can keep it. That wasn't true either. I mean, they said the cost of health insurance would go down in America. When we came into the White House, health insurance premiums had doubled under Obamacare. And during that presidential debate the other night, and how good did President Trump do in that presidential debate? Am I right? Was that great? Anyway, during the presidential debate, Joe Biden actually said, he said not one single person with private health insurance lost their plan under Obamacare. I mean, the truth is 6 million Americans had their individual health care plans canceled when Obamacare took effect. And now Joe Biden has a plan that the senator and these congressmen will tell you. He wants to import the socialist public option at the very heart of Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All and drop it right in the middle of Obamacare. I mean, you import their socialist concept, which he cleans it up and says it's a public option. I mean, that you basically would let the government compete with the private sector in health insurance. You know, the government competes with the private sector the way an alligator competes with a duck. Right? I mean, you put government insurance into the middle of Obamacare, it will consume the entire process. It'll threaten the private health insurance of 180 million Americans. And it will set us on an inevitable path to socialized medicine. But under President Donald Trump, we repealed the individual mandate. We've lowered health insurance by expanding opportunities for small businesses. We have cut the cost of prescription drugs. We passed right to try. And with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, we're going to lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. And America will never be a socialist country. It's on the line. Men and women of North Carolina, we got a choice to make. Just on the economy alone, I think it's a choice between a Trump recovery, which we got GDP numbers coming out this week. Just I don't know what they are, but buckle up. You're going to see American resilience like you've never seen before. Man. I mean, the Atlanta Fed the other day estimated a 35% quarter increase in the GDP. That's a lot. That's a lot more than ever in the history of America. And it's a testament to the character and the strength and the resilience and the faith of the American people. So get ready. Buckle up. This economy, you're going to see it this week. It's coming back. But the choice we face is really, it's between a Trump recovery and a Biden depression. I mean, there was a recent study that just came out, totally nonpartisan, that said that Joe Biden's economic policies would cause America to lose 5 million jobs and lower the average income of Americans' households by $6,500 a year. I mean, it's incredible. So you leave here today, you leave this parking lot today, I hope you'll just say, I ran into Mike out at the airport. And he ran to that stage just every bit as fast as he could. And he wanted me to ask you at least one question. Just ask it, neighbors, friends, people that worship at work. You just need to say, who do you really think can bring this economy all the way back? Okay? I mean, because North Carolina always plays an outsized role in the choice of our national leadership, and especially true this year. And so ask them that question. Who do you think can really bring this economy all the way back? A career politician who spent 47 years raising taxes, stifling our economy under more government, more regulation, and economic surrender? Or a proven job creator who will keep cutting taxes, rolling back red tape, unleashing American energy? You tell your neighbors and friends, for a boundless American future, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. So it's about our national defense. It's about our prosperity and an American comeback. But it's also about the safety and security of our families. And under President Donald Trump, you have an administration that has stood every day with the men and women who serve in law enforcement at every level, and we always will. You know, President Trump and I know what you know. The men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country, and they deserve the respect of every American every day. Now, the President and I will always support the right of peaceful protest, but rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses and assaulting law enforcement officers like you saw in Philadelphia last night. 30 police officers injured. It's not free speech. Now, for months, all Joe Biden talked about was peaceful protesters, remember? As the American people literally watched businesses in cities around the country burn. The truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the policies that have led to violence in America. And when you start to withdraw support from those who protect and serve our families, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. Now, Joe Biden explains it all by saying, in his words, that America is systemically racist and that police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, he said, yes, absolutely. But under President Donald Trump, I'll make you a promise. We're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue, and we're going to back the blue for 4 more years. You know, the President and I know what you know. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African American families and other minorities and people that live in our cities. I mean, we have done both for the last 4 years, and we'll keep supporting law enforcement with more resources, more training, more accountability, and we'll keep supporting our African American neighbors and friends. Under this president, we saw the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, the highest funding ever for historically black colleges and universities. This president has championed school choice, passed criminal justice reform, and created more than 8,000 opportunity zones, bringing jobs and opportunities to our inner city families. We're going to have law and order and prosperity in every city, in every state in this nation, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. So it's been about law and order. It's been about our prosperity. But the foundation of law and order is the rule of law. And I'm proud to report to you, standing here today, that President Trump has appointed more than 200 conservative judges to our federal courts at every level, and they are all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And that includes the newest Associate Justice to the Supreme Court of the United States, Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Isn't she something? Wow. How great did she do in those hearings? Did you love it when she held up that blank pad? I loved it. And that beautiful family. And I say that not just because she's from the state of Indiana, okay? But she's truly remarkable and reflective of all the men and women that this president's appointed. I just was so impressed to see her step forward, a brilliant jurist, and to carry forward those principles into the Supreme Court of the United States. And speaking of women in the law, I'm here not just as your vice president, but as a proud father. I'm here with my youngest, who just graduated from one of our Ivy League law schools and is an amazing young woman with a brilliant future. Her dad couldn't be more proud. Audrey Pence, everybody. She's just amazing and has an incredible future. And I have to tell you that I really do believe that the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and now Justice Amy Coney Barrett are paving the way for opportunities for women in the law, and my daughter's going to be one of them. So thank you for giving her such a warm welcome. But you know, all that we've accomplished, I mean, it's like 250 conservative judges at every level, would not have been possible without a president who kept his word to the people of North Carolina. And it would not have been possible without the principled leadership and support on the Judiciary Committee of North Carolina, Senator Tom Tillis. I'm telling you, he's been there every step of the way. And it's one more reason why right after you re-elect President Donald Trump, we need North Carolina to re-elect Senator Tom Tillis for 6 more years, for a strong judiciary, for the rule of law, for the Constitution of the United States. Let's hear it for Senator Tom Tillis, everybody. Thank you, Senator. And the Senator knows this, but you all deserve to know in North Carolina. Talking about the Supreme Court. After 150 years of 9 judges on the Supreme Court of the United States, leading Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court. Adding seats so that they could name activist liberal judges who would enact their agenda from the judicial branch. Now, first, Joe Biden refused to answer whether he'd pack the court. I tried to get Kamala Harris to answer the question in our debate. And then Joe said he'd tell us after Judge Barrett was confirmed, right, Senator? Well, that's now. But Sunday night on that CBS show, he said it's a live ball, and he's not going to tell us till months after the election is over. I mean, come on, man. The American people deserve a straight answer, Joe. If you're running for the highest office in the land, you ought to tell the American people whether you're going to respect the highest court in the land. Am I right? Senator will back me up. He sees this coming down the tracks. That's why his reelection, I think, is every bit as important as this president's. I mean, they're not answering the question because we already know the answer, right? I mean, I was born in the morning, but not yesterday morning, right? I mean, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to pack the court with activist liberal judges if they somehow win this election. That's why we can't let it happen. North Carolina, we got to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years and send Senator Tom Tillis back to a Republican majority in the United States Senate. It's just that important, because it's really about protecting our liberties. Okay? That's what an independent judiciary does, right, Senator? It's a distinguished member of the Judiciary Committee, a man of principle and integrity, gets it. I mean, you think about our most cherished liberties here in North Carolina. You deserve to know that when Joe Biden was vice president, we literally saw a steady assault on the religious freedom of Americans by the federal government. I mean, compromising conscience rights of doctors and nurses and religious charities through regulation. Congressman Walker will back me up on that. I mean, they even hauled a group of nuns into federal court when Joe Biden was vice president to force them to compromise their faith to live under Obamacare. And when Judge Amy Coney Barrett was being confirmed just a couple short years ago, you all remember, the leading Democrat on the Judiciary Committee said she was concerned about the fact that she had a sincere Catholic faith. She actually said in the hearing, the leading Democrat on the committee said she was concerned because, quote, the dogma lives loudly within you. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the freedom to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. And I'm here to tell you, President Donald Trump has stood every day for the freedom of religion of every American of every faith, and we always will. Under this president, we appointed the first ambassador at large for religious freedom. We hosted the very first meeting at the United Nations focused on global religious liberty. We appointed a special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. And all across this country, it was this president who formed the first coalition of U.S. businesses for the protection of religious freedom to encourage private sector firms to protect people of all faiths in the workplace. President Donald Trump has restored the conscience rights of doctors and nurses and religious charities. And President Donald Trump ended the assault on the little sisters of the poor, and the Supreme Court of the United States made it permanent. I want to tell you, people who know me know that I like to describe myself as a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who has been a champion for the people of every faith in America every day. It's true. And finally, when we're talking about our values, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, and are actually calling for record increases in abortion funding at home and abroad. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. And we are going to stand for the right to life for 4 more years. It really is incredible when you think about the progress that we've made in those first 3 years. Stronger national defense, more prosperous America. We stood for law and orders, liberties, and life. And none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of North Carolina's delegation to the Congress. So right after you reelect our president and reelect Senator Thom Tillis back to the Senate, I got one more thing to ask. We need North Carolina to send Congressman Ted Budd and Congressman Mark Walker back to a new Republican majority in the United States House of Representatives and retire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. I mean, when you look at what we were able to accomplish in those first 3 years with a Republican House and a Republican Senate, there's only one way you can describe it. In 3 short years, we made America great again. Am I right? And then the coronavirus struck from China. But before the first documented case of community spread in this nation, President Trump did what no other American president had ever done. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Joe Biden said that was xenophobic. He actually said it was hysterical. But I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force these last 8 months, President Trump's actions suspending all travel to China saved untold American lives, and it bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. It's true. I mean, we reinvented testing. We saw to the production and distribution of billions of medical supplies to our amazing doctors and nurses all across North Carolina and all across America. We developed therapeutics and medicines that are saving lives. And working with the incredible Research Triangle right here in North Carolina, we are on track to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year, with millions of doses available. And I promise you, we're going to keep protecting the vulnerable. We're going to keep saving lives. We're going to keep driving to that day that we have a vaccine that we can put this coronavirus in the past. And as Joe Biden is talking about shutting down our economy, we're opening up America again. I mean, we'll always put the health of America first. But throughout this pandemic, working with these congressmen and your senator, this president also secured unprecedented support for American families and businesses large and small that's helped us through this challenging time. But after losing 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, it's amazing to think on the foundation that President Trump poured and with the relief that they provided, we've already seen 11.5 million people go back to work all across this country, including 320,000 people right here in the Tar Heel State. We are opening up America again. And we're opening up America's schools. We just secured 150 million point-of-care tests, 15-minute little card tests. We're distributing 100 million of them to school nurses all over this state and all over this nation to get our kids back in the classroom where they belong and keep them there safe and sound. And to open up America again, I think you all know, it's amazing. You got countries in Europe that are already starting to shut down again. And Joe Biden's talking about shutting down the economy. That's why to keep opening up America, we need 2 things. We need President Donald Trump back in the White House, and North Carolina needs to make Dan Forrest the next governor of the Tar Heel State. So we've gone through a time of testing after those first 3 incredible years. Now we're coming to a time of choosing, 7 days away. The choice in this election has never been clearer and the stakes have never been higher. I mean, when you look at their agenda, higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, a Green New Deal, packing the courts, defunding the police. It's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden said that democracy's on the ballot. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also think there's things much more foundational to our country that are on the ballot. In this election, I think it's not going to be so much whether America ends up more Republican or more Democrat, more liberal or more conservative, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. Whether we're going to chart a course based on our highest ideals of freedom, faith, family, and free enterprise. Or whether we're going to let Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and the radical left take us on a pathway of less freedom, more government, socialism, and American decline. So for our freedom, for all the ideals that have always made America great, my fellow Americans, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be President of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. I mean, 4 more years means more support for our troops. 4 more years means more support for jobs. 4 more years means more judges and support for our police. And I got to tell you, from all that I've seen, it's going to take at least 4 more years to drain that swamp. Now, I'm really grateful y'all came out today, and I got a plane to catch. I looked at my watch for effect, not to be like Biden in the debate, right? But before I go, I want to say something from my heart here. You know, when the president called me and asked me to join this ticket, these friends of mine know I really didn't know him that well at all. We'd met a couple of times. But we've gotten to be very close friends. I mean, we literally speak every day. And we spend hours together when we're both at the White House. So let me just tell you, when the bright lights are off and the cameras are off, I can tell you firsthand, against unprecedented resistance and opposition by the Democratic Party, against unrelenting and unfair attacks by their allies in the national media. There has never been a day gone by that I didn't see this president get up and turn his face like flint against the wind and fight to keep the promises that he made to the people of North Carolina. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on, North Carolina. We need you to lean into the fight and do a couple of things. Here's my ask. Number one, as soon as we get done here, I need you to be sure to vote North Carolina, vote to re-elect President Donald Trump to the White House. Senator Tillis and I were talking on the way here. Early voting has already started. My wife and I just cast our vote back in the Hoosier State. So you need to go get it done. I checked on the way here. You could leave here right after I'm done. Go down to the Leonard Recreation Center, 6324 Ballinger Road. Open 8 to 7:30, Monday through Friday. And remember, Friends don't let friends vote alone. Get a family member, get a neighbor, get a coworker, and vote to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. It's job one. And number two, I want you to go tell somebody. Tell somebody what we talked about here today. Tell somebody what this president, working with this senator and these great congressmen, was able to do in those first 3 years, and how he's led us with decisiveness through one of the most challenging years of my lifetime. Tell them about the choice that we face in this election, and that freedom is really on the line. I mean, tell them what we can do with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. Because I really do believe that the most powerful media in this country is today, and always has been, word of mouth. I mean, I remember the last election. You do too. All the polls said that we weren't going to win, right? I mean, I tell people there were all different types of polls. Ones where we were losing by a lot, and ones where we were losing by a little. But I just knew in my heart of hearts that there was a victory coming on Election Day, because I saw the look on people's faces. I knew the American people were talking to one another, who were believing in the vision, believing in the leadership. So we need you, North Carolina, to go back out, do it again, find your neighbors and friends, and tell them why we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House and this whole Republican team. And finally, if you're of a mind to bow the head and bend the knee over the next 7 days, I'd encourage you to do that too. You know, as I travel around this country, the sweetest words the President and I ever hear are when people will reach out across a rope line and just say, "I'm praying for you." And you know they mean it. I mean, this is a nation of faith. And so, if you're inclined to go to that wellspring of American strength that has ever nurtured our nation from the very founding, I'd encourage you to do it in the next 7 days. And when you pray, pray with confidence in those ancient words that Americans have clung to in much more challenging times than we face, in much more divided times than we could even imagine. That if His people, who are called by His name, will humble themselves and pray and turn, that He'll do like He's always done in the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven, and He'll heal this land. This one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. Pray for all of the American people. It'll make a difference. I promise you. And so I'm going to roll out of here, but I want to can I just say, on behalf of myself and my family, thank you for the great honor of serving as your vice president. And thank you for coming out today. It's truly the greatest honor of my life. And I'm here because I want to be your vice president for 4 more years. Thank you. I leave here today with renewed confidence. I got 2 more rallies before today. The president's on his way to 3 rallies as we speak. I promise you we're going to stay in the fight every day until the polls close and you go do the same. And if all of us do all that we need to do in all that remains between now and Election Day, if we work like it all depends on us, and if we pray, I know we're going to have a great victory all across North Carolina and all across America. We're going to make this state and nation stronger than ever before. We're going to make North Carolina and America more prosperous than ever before. We're going to make North Carolina and America more united than ever before. and with Senator Tom Tillis back in the United States Senate, with Congressman Ted Budd and Mark Walker in a new Republican majority in the House, with Dan Forrest in the governor's office, President Donald Trump in the White House, and with God's help, North Carolina, we will make America great again. Again. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless America. Now let's go get it done, North Carolina.